Lucas Anderson's hand trembled as he gathered the scattered scholarship papers from the rain-soaked sidewalk, his weathered fingers moving frantically while his heart pounded in his chest. The wind had chosen the worst possible moment to snatch the documents from his hands right as he'd exited his rusted Honda Civic in the faculty parking lot of Westlake Academy, where his daughter Zoe's future quite literally blew away before his eyes. No, 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 he muttered, diving for a page that threatened to slip into a puddle. He snatched it just in time, the corner barely damp. Lucas clutched the papers against his chest, his worn work jacket providing little shelter for the precious forms he'd spent 3 nights completing after double shifts at the construction site. At 34, Lucas had the calloused hands of a man who'd worked hard his entire life. The last 6 years, as a single dad, had etched permanent worry lines around his eyes, but they were outmatched by the laugh lines from the joyful moments with Zoe. His daughter was brilliant, smarter at 12 than he'd ever been, and deserved every opportunity he could provide, even when providing meant scrambling for scholarships to the prestigious Westlake Academy. Lucas hurried toward the administration building, checking his watch. He had exactly 15 minutes before the scholarship office closed, and he couldn't miss this deadline. Not after promising Zoe he'd handle it. Not after seeing the hope in her eyes when they toured the school's state of the art science lab last month. He entered the gleaming lobby, his work boots leaving faint damp marks on the polished marble floor. The receptionist glanced up, her expression shifting from welcoming to slightly cautious as she took in his appearance jeans with a small tear at the knee, a faded flannel shirt beneath his jacket, and the shadow of stubble he hadn't had time to shave that morning. "May I help you?" she asked. "Scholarship office, I have an application due today," Lucas said, trying to smooth the crumpled papers in his hands. "3rd floor, but they close at 5, she said, glancing meaningfully at the large wall clock reading 4:48. "Thank you," Lucas said, already moving toward the elevator. As the doors slid shut, he quickly attempted to organize the papers, heart sinking as he realized one crucial form was missing. He'd had it when he left the car, he was sure of it. The elevator doors opened, and Lucas rushed down the corridor, scanning the floor as he went, hoping against hope that he might have dropped the missing page here rather than outside. The scholarship office door was just ahead, but he paused, turning back to retrace his steps. That's when he collided with her. Papers flew everywhere, his scholarship forms mixed with what appeared to be student essays and grade reports. Lucas dropped to his knees immediately. "I'm so sorry," he said, gathering papers as quickly as he could. "I wasn't looking where I was going." "Clearly," came a crisp, melodic voice from above him. Lucas looked up and for a moment forgot about the scattered papers. The woman standing over him had the kind of presence that commanded attention without effort. She wore a simple but elegantly tailored navy dress that spoke of quiet wealth, her honey brown hair falling in soft waves around a face that managed to look both authoritative and kind. "Here, let me help," she said, crouching down beside him, her movement graceful despite the pencil skirt. "You seem to be in quite a hurry." "Scholarship deadline," Lucas explained, checking his watch again. 7 minutes, and I think I lost a form outside." The woman gathered her own papers efficiently, then helped Lucas collect his. Their fingers brushed as she handed him a stack, and he noticed she wasn't wearing a wedding ring. Not that it mattered, women who looked like her, who carried themselves with such easy confidence in places like Westlake Academy, weren't typically interested in construction workers raising daughters in modest 2-bedroom apartments. "Which form?" she asked, examining the papers in her hand. "Financial statement verification. It has my tax information, and this one." She held up a slightly damp page. Lucas's relief was immediate and palpable. "Yes, that's it, thank you." He reached for it, but she held it just out of reach, her eyes scanning the document. "You're applying for the Westlake Merit and Need-Based Scholarship?" she asked. Lucas nodded, suddenly feeling self-conscious. The form clearly showed his income modest by Westlake standards. For my daughter, Zoe, she's 12. She's brilliant with science and math, and this school would give her opportunities I never had. The words tumbled out before he could stop them. The woman's expression softened. I'm Harper Mitchell. I teach advanced mathematics here. She finally handed him the form. The scholarship office closes in. She checked her watch. 5 minutes. I know, Lucas said, already backing away. Thank you for your help, Miss Mitchell. It's Dr. Mitchell, actually, she corrected him with a small smile. And the scholarship committee meets tomorrow. I'm on it. Lucas paused, processing this information. I hope you'll consider Zoe's application fairly. She deserves a chance. We consider all applications on their merits, Dr. Mitchell replied, her expression unreadable. You should hurry. Lucas nodded and sprinted the remaining distance to the scholarship office, arriving with barely 2 minutes to spare. The secretary looked annoyed at the last-minute submission, but accepted the paperwork with a tight smile. Cutting it close, she remarked. As long as it's in before 5, it counts, right? Lucas asked, trying to catch his breath. It counts, she confirmed, stamping the application with the date. Results will be mailed in 3 weeks. Lucas thanked her and headed back toward the elevator, his shoulders finally relaxing. He'd done it, kept his promise to Zoe. Now it was up to the committee. As the elevator doors opened, he was surprised to see Dr. Mitchell waiting inside. Successful mission? She asked as he stepped in. Made it with 2 minutes to spare, Lucas replied, offering a genuine smile. Thank you again for your help. Your daughter Zoe, was it? What's her current school? Franklin Middle. She's in their gifted program, but their resources are limited. Lucas hesitated, then added, I'm Lucas Anderson, by the way. Well, Mr. Anderson, I look forward to reviewing Zoe's application. The elevator reached the lobby, and Dr. Mitchell stepped out. Good luck to you both. Lucas watched her walk away, her confident stride drawing more than a few glances from others in the lobby. Then he hurried to his car, eager to tell Zoe that the application was submitted on time. That evening, as Lucas helped Zoe with her science project, a model of the solar system that had taken over their small dining table, he mentioned his encounter with Dr. Mitchell. She teaches advanced math at Westlake, he explained, holding a small styrofoam Neptune steady while Zoe applied blue paint with careful strokes. And she's on the scholarship committee. Zoe looked up, her brown eyes so like her mother's widening with interest. What's she like? Is she nice? Lucas considered the question. She seems fair, professional, definitely smart. Was she pretty? Zoe asked with the blunt curiosity of a preteen. Lucas felt his cheeks warm slightly. She was, yes, she was pretty. Zoe nodded knowingly. You should have asked for her number. Whoa, hold on, Lucas chuckled. That's not how it works. She's a teacher at the school you might attend. That would be inappropriate. Mom's been gone for 6 years, Dad, Zoe said quietly. It's okay if you like someone. Lucas set down the planet and ruffled his daughter's dark hair. I appreciate the permission, Squirt, but my focus is on you and making sure you get the best education possible. I know, Zoe said, returning to her painting. But sometimes I think you forget there's more to life than just working and taking care of me. Lucas didn't have a response to that. Zoe had always been perceptive beyond her years, a trait that sometimes made parenting her more challenging and more rewarding. Let's finish this solar system, he said instead. You've got school tomorrow, and I have to be at the site by 6. Later, after Zoe was asleep, Lucas sat at the kitchen counter with a cup of coffee, reviewing their monthly budget. The scholarship would cover 75% of Westlake's tuition if Zoe was selected. He'd been putting aside money for the remaining 25%, but it would still be tight. He might need to pick up weekend work to make it happen. His thoughts drifted to Dr. Harper Mitchell. There had been something in her eyes when she looked at his financial statement, not pity, which he would have hated, but something like recognition, perhaps even respect. It had been a long time since a woman had looked at him that way, not that it mattered. Women like Harper Mitchell didn't date men like him. Even if they did, he didn't have time for dating. Between work and Zoe, his days were full from dawn to dusk. Still, as he finally climbed into bed, exhaustion settling deep in his bones, the image of her confident smile lingered in his mind. 3 days later, Lucas was kneeling on the roof of a new housing development, hammer in hand, when his phone vibrated in his pocket. Normally, he ignored calls during work hours unless they came from Zoe's school, but something made him check the number. Unknown caller. "Hello," he answered, the spring sun beating down on his back. "Mr. Anderson, this is Dr. Harper Mitchell from Westlake Academy." Lucas sat back on his heels, heart suddenly racing. It was too soon for scholarship decisions. Had something gone wrong with the application? Dr. Mitchell, is everything okay with Zoe's application? That's actually why I'm calling. The committee has some follow-up questions about her science fair projects. I'm reviewing the academic achievements section, and her work is quite impressive, but there's a gap in the documentation. Lucas wiped sweat from his forehead with his forearm. What kind of gap? We need more details about the molecular biology project she completed last year. The one that won the regional competition? Right, her enzyme research. Lucas felt a surge of pride. Zoe had spent months on that project, working with a mentor from the local community college. I have the full report and her presentation materials at home. Perfect. We'll need those before the committee meets again on Friday. There was a brief pause. I could stop by your office tomorrow if that works for you. Lucas glanced around at the half-finished roof, the construction site sprawling below. I don't have an office. I work construction. Another pause. I see. Well, perhaps I could meet you somewhere convenient, a coffee shop near your workplace. There was no judgment in her voice, which Lucas appreciated. That would work. There's a place called Morning Brew about 2 blocks from Franklin Middle School. I could meet you there after I drop Zoe off, around 8:15. That works for me, Dr. Mitchell replied. And Mr. Anderson. From what I've seen so far, your daughter has remarkable potential. I'm impressed by her achievements, especially considering. She didn't finish the sentence, but Lucas knew what she meant. Especially considering her circumstances, her single-parent household, her lack of resources compared to typical Westlake families. Thank you, he said simply. She works hard. As do you, I imagine. I'll see you tomorrow, Mr. Anderson. After hanging up, Lucas returned to his work, hammering with renewed energy. The call could be a good sign they wouldn't bother with follow-up questions if they weren't seriously considering Zoe's application, would they? The next morning, Lucas made sure Zoe had everything she needed for school. Plus, he grabbed the folder containing her science project documentation from their small home office, really just a corner of the living room with a desk and filing cabinet. Why are you wearing your good jeans? Zoe asked suspiciously as they headed to the car. Lucas glanced down at himself. He'd chosen his newest pair of jeans without holes or paint stains, a clean blue button-down shirt with the sleeves rolled up, and had taken extra time to shave properly. I'm meeting with Dr. Mitchell after I drop you off, about your scholarship application. Zoe's eyes lit up. The pretty math teacher, is it a date? No, it's not a date, Lucas said firmly, opening the car door for her. It's strictly about your application. She needs more information about your enzyme project. That's a good sign, right? Zoe asked as she buckled her seatbelt. I hope so, Squirt. We'll see. After dropping Zoe at school, Lucas drove to Morning Brew, arriving 10 minutes early. He claimed a small table by the window, ordered a black coffee, and waited, flipping through Zoe's project materials to ensure everything was in order. At exactly 8:15, Harper Mitchell walked through the door, and Lucas couldn't help but notice how several heads turned to watch her. Today, she wore slim-fitting dark trousers and a cream-colored blouse under a tailored blazer. Her honey-brown hair was pulled back in a sleek ponytail, emphasizing her high cheekbones and clear blue eyes. She spotted him and walked over, her smile professional but warm. "Mr. Anderson, thank you for meeting me." "Lucas, please," he said, standing to pull out a chair for her. "Lucas," she repeated, seeming pleased by the informality. "Then you must call me Harper. Can I get you another coffee? I'm good, thanks, but please go ahead if you'd like something." Harper shook her head. "I've already had my morning quota. Too much caffeine makes my students nervous." There was a hint of humor in her voice that Lucas found unexpectedly charming. "I brought all of Zoe's project documentation," he said, sliding the folder across the table. Everything from her initial proposal to the final presentation and judges' feedback. Harper opened the folder and began examining the contents with genuine interest. "This is impressive work for a 7th grader," she remarked after a few minutes. "The methodology is particularly well developed." She had help from a mentor at Riverside Community College, Lucas explained. "Dr. Patel. She's listed in the acknowledgments, but the research and experiments were all Zoe's work." Harper nodded, continuing to read. "And you built this testing apparatus for her?" she asked, pointing to a photograph of a simple but effective device Zoe had used in her experiments. "Yes, she designed it. I just helped with the construction." Harper looked up, studying him with new interest. "That's quite resourceful." "We make do with what we have," Lucas said with a shrug. Zoe's never let limited resources stop her from pursuing her ideas. "That speaks well of both of you," Harper said, closing the folder. "This is exactly what we needed. The committee will be impressed." "So you think she has a real chance?" Lucas couldn't keep the hope from his voice. Harper hesitated, professional reserve returning. "The process is highly competitive, but Zoe's application is strong. Her academic record is stellar, and these projects demonstrate real scientific thinking." Lucas nodded, trying not to show his disappointment at the non-answer. "I understand. Thank you for taking the time to look at her materials." Harper seemed to debate with herself for a moment before adding, "Off the record, I think she's exactly the kind of student Westlake should be cultivating. Talent and determination like hers shouldn't be limited by financial constraints." The knot in Lucas's chest loosened slightly. "That means a lot coming from you. May I ask you something personal?" Harper said suddenly. Lucas nodded, curious. "Your financial statement mentioned you're a single parent. Has it always been just you and Zoe?" "No," Lucas said, the familiar ache dulling with time but never quite disappearing. "Her mother, Elena, died when Zoe was 6, breast cancer." Harper's expression softened with genuine sympathy. "I'm sorry, that must have been incredibly difficult for both of you." "It was, still is sometimes. But Zoe is resilient, and she has her mother's brilliance and determination. And her father's work ethic, from what I can see," Harper added. Lucas smiled, feeling uncharacteristically self-conscious under her thoughtful gaze. "I do my best." "I should get these documents back to the committee," Harper said, glancing at her watch. "Thank you for meeting me on such short notice." "Of course, anything to help Zoe's chances." They both stood, and Harper extended her hand. Her grip was firm but feminine, her skin smooth against his calloused palm. "It was nice talking with you, Lucas. We'll be sending out decisions next week." "Thanks again for your consideration," Lucas said. As he watched her leave, he couldn't help wondering what her story was. How did someone like Harper Mitchell end up teaching at an elite private school? And why did she seem genuinely interested in giving a kid like Zoe a chance? Lucas pushed the thoughts aside and headed to work, already running late. The foreman would understand once he explained, but he hated letting the crew down. The next week would be tense enough, waiting for Zoe's scholarship results. He needed to stay focused on what he could control, providing for his daughter and being there for her, whatever the outcome. Harper Mitchell drove from the coffee shop to Westlake Academy with Lucas Anderson's folder on the passenger seat beside her. Something about the man intrigued her, his evident devotion to his daughter, the quiet dignity with which he carried his responsibilities, the intelligence in his green eyes that belied his working-class appearance. As she navigated through traffic, Harper's thoughts drifted to the Westlake Scholarship Committee. Being one of the wealthiest private schools in the state, Westlake prided itself on offering opportunities to exceptional students from diverse backgrounds. In practice, however, the diverse backgrounds often meant children of well-connected families who had fallen on temporary hard times, not truly disadvantaged students like Zoe Anderson. Harper had joined the committee specifically to advocate for genuinely deserving students who might otherwise be overlooked. As the youngest department head in Westlake's history, she had earned enough respect from the administration to have her recommendations taken seriously. But she also knew the politics at play. The headmaster, Walter Pruitt, tended to favor applicants with family names he recognized or connections to potential donors. He wouldn't outright reject a qualified candidate like Zoe, but he might prioritize other applicants if given the chance. Harper parked in her reserved space, one of the perks of being department head, and gathered her things. As she walked toward the mathematics building, she spotted Headmaster Pruitt chatting with Jeffrey Blackburn, the parent of one of her students and a major donor to the school. Dr. Mitchell, Pruitt called, waving her over. Just the person I wanted to see. How are the scholarship applications coming along? We're making good progress, Harper replied politely. I've just collected some additional materials for one of our top candidates. Excellent, excellent, Pruitt said. Mr. Blackburn here was just telling me about his niece's application. Talented young lady, I hear. Harper maintained her professional smile. All applications are evaluated based on the established criteria, of course. Of course, Blackburn agreed smoothly. Merit first always. Though connections to our Westlake family don't hurt, do they, Walter? Pruitt laughed as if this were a charming joke rather than a blatant attempt to influence the process. We value our community, certainly. Well, don't let us keep you, Dr. Mitchell. I know how busy you are. Harper nodded and continued on her way, her resolve strengthening. Zoe Anderson deserved her spot at Westlake based on merit alone, not family connections, not wealth, not influence. The fact that her father was working so hard to give her opportunities only reinforced Harper's determination to ensure the process remained fair. In her office, Harper carefully reviewed Zoe's complete application once more. The girl's transcripts showed straight A's in all subjects, with particular excellence in mathematics and sciences. Her standardized test scores placed her in the 98th percentile nationally. Teacher recommendations described her as exceptionally gifted, intellectually curious, and mature beyond her years. And now, looking through the detailed documentation of her science projects, Harper was even more impressed. Working with limited resources, Zoe had designed experiments that showed genuine scientific insight. The enzyme research project, in particular, demonstrated a level of understanding that many high school students wouldn't achieve. What struck Harper most, though, was the evidence of Lucas's support throughout. From the testing apparatus he had built to the careful organization of her presentation materials, it was clear that he was deeply invested in his daughter's education. How many parents, regardless of their financial situation, showed that level of engagement? Harper found herself thinking about Lucas again. There was something compelling about him that went beyond physical attraction, though she couldn't deny he was handsome in a rugged, unpretentious way. His green eyes crinkled at the corners when he smiled, suggesting he did so often, despite what must be significant challenges in his life. His hands bore the marks of physical labor, yet he had handled his daughter's scientific documents with gentle care and obvious pride. She shook herself mentally. This was unprofessional. Lucas was the father of a potential student, nothing more. Her interest in him needed to remain strictly appropriate. Yet, as she prepared her notes for Friday's committee meeting, Harper couldn't help hoping that Zoe would be awarded the scholarship, not just for the girl's sake, but because it might mean seeing Lucas Anderson again. The following Friday, Lucas's phone rang while he was on his lunch break. The construction site was noisy, so he walked to his truck before answering. "Mr. Anderson?" This is Walter Pruitt, headmaster of Westlake Academy. Lucas's stomach tightened. This was at the scholarship decision, coming directly from the headmaster. Was that a good sign or a bad one? Yes, hello, Mr. Pruitt. I'm calling regarding your daughter Zoe's application to our scholarship program. The committee met this morning, and I wanted to inform you of our decision personally. Lucas closed his eyes, bracing himself. I appreciate that. We would like to offer Zoe a full scholarship to Westlake Academy, beginning with the upcoming academic year. For a moment, Lucas couldn't speak. A full scholarship, not the 75% he'd applied for, but complete coverage. Mr. Anderson, are you there? Yes, sorry, Thank you. That's incredible news. Lucas's voice was rough with emotion. Zoe will be thrilled. Her application was quite impressive, Pruitt continued. We had a record number of applicants this year, but the committee was unanimous in their decision regarding your daughter, Dr. Mitchell was particularly persuasive in highlighting Zoe's exceptional promise. Lucas made a mental note to thank Harper properly. We're honored, truly. There are some enrollment forms that will need to be completed. If you could come to the admissions office on Monday, they'll have everything ready for you. And we'd like to schedule a placement assessment for Zoe next week to determine appropriate class levels. Of course, we'll be there. After hanging up, Lucas sat in his truck for several minutes, letting the news sink in. Zoe had done it. She'd earned her place at one of the best schools in the state. The opportunities this would open for her were beyond anything he could have provided on his own. He wanted to call Zoe immediately, but he decided to wait and tell her in person. This was news he wanted to see on her face. That afternoon, when he picked her up from school, Zoe immediately sensed something was different. Why are you smiling like that? She asked, climbing into the passenger seat. Did something good happen? Lucas couldn't contain it any longer. You could say that. I got a call from Headmaster Pruitt today. Zoe's eyes widened. And you're looking at the proud father of a Westlake Academy scholarship recipient. Full scholarship, Zoe. They're covering everything. Zoe's squeal of delight was probably audible from outside the car. She launched herself across the center console to hug him tightly. I knew it. I knew I could do it, she exclaimed. You did it, Squirt. All your hard work paid off. Lucas hugged her back, his chest tight with pride. Apparently, the committee was unanimous, and Dr. Mitchell spoke up especially for you. Zoe pulled back, her eyes bright with excitement and unshed tears. We have to thank her. Can we send her flowers or something? I was thinking we could thank her in person. We need to go to the school on Monday to fill out some paperwork. Maybe we'll see her then. Zoe nodded enthusiastically, then her expression turned thoughtful. This is going to change everything, isn't it? Lucas considered her question. Some things will change. You'll have new teachers, new classmates, more challenging work, but the important things stay the same. We're still a team, you and me. Zoe smiled, satisfied with his answer. Can we get ice cream to celebrate? Lucas laughed. Absolutely. This definitely calls for ice cream. Monday morning found Lucas and Zoe in the Westlake Academy admissions office, working through a stack of enrollment forms. Lucas had taken the morning off work, arranging to make up the hours over the rest of the week. Zoe was dressed in her best clothes, a navy blue dress and cardigan that Alina's parents had sent for her last birthday. She looked older somehow, sitting straight-backed in the plush chair, carefully reading each form before signing where indicated. Lucas felt a pang of bittersweetness, seeing his little girl so grown up, so ready for this new chapter. As they finished the last of the paperwork, a familiar voice came from the doorway. I thought I might find you both here today. They looked up to see Harper Mitchell standing there, elegant as ever in a deep green dress that brought out flecks of gold in her blue eyes. Dr. Mitchell, Zoe exclaimed, jumping up from her chair. Thank you so much for supporting my application. My dad said you spoke up for me specially. Harper smiled warmly. I simply pointed out what was already evident in your application, Zoe. Your work speaks for itself. She turned her attention to Lucas, who had also stood. Congratulations, Mr. Anderson. This is well deserved. Thank you, Lucas said sincerely. We both appreciate your support. A full scholarship. It's more than we hoped for. The committee was impressed by Zoe's academic achievements and her obvious determination, Harper replied. The kind of intellectual curiosity she demonstrates is exactly what Westlake aims to foster. Dr. Mitchell, the admissions secretary, interrupted. Zoe's placement assessment is scheduled for 11 a.m. in room 203. That's in about 15 minutes. Harper nodded. Perfect. I'm actually administering the mathematics portion of the assessment. She looked at Zoe. Are you ready to show us what you can do? Zoe straightened her shoulders. I'm ready. Excellent. Why don't we head over there now? We can get you settled in before the other evaluators arrive. Harper glanced at Lucas. The assessment usually takes about 2 hours. There's a parent lounge on the second floor if you'd like to wait, or you're welcome to explore the campus. I'll wait, Lucas said. Good luck, Zoe. Just do your best, that's all that matters. Zoe hugged him quickly. I've got this, Dad. As Harper led Zoe away, Lucas watched them go, struck by how natural they looked together, his brilliant daughter and this accomplished woman, already deep in conversation about some mathematical concept that was well beyond his comprehension. The parent lounge turned out to be a comfortable room with leather armchairs, a coffee station, and large windows overlooking the school's expansive grounds. Lucas was the only person there, which suited him fine. He settled into a chair with a cup of coffee and pulled out his phone to catch up on work emails. About an hour into the wait, the lounge door opened and Harper walked in. Taking a break? Lucas asked, surprised to see her. My part of the assessment is complete, she explained, pouring herself a cup of tea. The language, arts, and science evaluators are with Zoe now. She hesitated, then gestured to the chair opposite him. May I? Of course. Harper sat, cradling her tea with both hands. I'm not supposed to discuss the assessment results until they're officially compiled, but your daughter is quite remarkable. Lucas couldn't help the proud smile that spread across his face. She's always been that way. Even as a little kid, she was figuring things out, asking questions about how everything works. That kind of natural curiosity can't be taught, Harper agreed. It can only be nurtured, which you've clearly done very well. I try, Lucas said. Her mom was the same way. Elena was working on her PhD in biochemistry when Zoe was born. She put it on hold to focus on motherhood, but she always said she'd go back when Zoe was older. His smile faltered slightly. She never got the chance. Harper's eyes softened with sympathy. I'm sorry. Lucas nodded, accepting her sympathy without letting it pull him into sadness. Elena would be so proud of Zoe right now. This scholarship, this opportunity, it's what she would have wanted for her. And what about you? Harper asked, her question surprising him. What do you want for yourself, Lucas? The question caught him off guard. It had been so long since anyone had asked him that. Honestly, I haven't thought much beyond making sure Zoe has what she needs. Day to day, that's what drives me. That's admirable, Harper said. But there must be something you want for yourself, beyond being Zoe's father. Lucas considered the question seriously. I suppose I'd like to finish my own education someday. I started college right out of high school, studying architectural design. Had to drop out when my mom got sick, started working construction to help with medical bills. He shrugged. Life took some turns and I never made it back. It's not too late, Harper pointed out. Many universities have programs for adult learners. Maybe someday, Lucas agreed. When Zoe's older and more independent. Right now, between work and parenting, there's not much time for anything else. Harper nodded, understanding in her eyes. Time is always the challenge, isn't it? Even without children, I find it difficult to balance work and personal life. Lucas found himself curious about her. Have you always been a teacher? Not always, Harper replied. I worked in finance for a few years after getting my PhD in applied mathematics. The money was excellent, but the work wasn't fulfilling. Teaching is where my heart is. And Westlake is lucky to have you, Lucas said sincerely. Harper smiled, a slight blush coloring her cheeks. Thank you. She glanced at her watch. The assessment should be wrapping up soon. I should get back. She stood, and Lucas did the same. Thank you again for everything you've done for Zoe, he said. Harper hesitated, then said, Would you and Zoe like to have dinner sometime? I could answer any questions you might have about Westlake, help prepare Zoe for what to expect. Lucas was momentarily stunned by the invitation. Was this professional courtesy or something more personal? That would be great, he managed. Zoe would love that, and so would I. Harper's smile brightened. Wonderful, let me give you my number. They exchanged contact information just as the lounge door opened and Zoe burst in, her face flushed with excitement. Dad, the science evaluator said my knowledge of molecular biology is at a high school level, and I finished the language assessment 20 minutes early. Lucas laughed at her enthusiasm. That's amazing, Squirt. I knew you'd do well. Dr. Mitchell, your math problems were the hardest, but I think I got most of them right, Zoe continued, turning to Harper. You did very well, Harper confirmed. We'll have your official placement results by the end of the week, but I suspect you'll be in some advanced classes. Zoe beamed, then looked between Harper and her father curiously. Were you two talking about me? Among other things, Lucas admitted. Doctor. Mitchell has invited us to dinner sometime to talk about what to expect at Westlake. Really? Zoe's eyes lit up. When can we go soon? Harper laughed. How about this Friday, unless that's too soon? Lucas thought about his schedule. He had no plans he rarely did on Friday nights, beyond maybe ordering pizza and watching a movie with Zoe. Friday works for us. Excellent. I know a family-friendly restaurant not far from here, Riverside Grill. Does 6:30 work? Perfect, Lucas agreed, feeling a mix of nervousness and anticipation that he hadn't experienced in years. We'll meet you there. As they left the school, Zoe was uncharacteristically quiet in the car. Everything okay, Squirt? Lucas asked. You seem deep in thought. Zoe turned to him with a serious expression. Dad, is Friday a date? Lucas nearly swerved. What? No, it's Dr. Mitchell being kind enough to help us understand Westlake better. She could have just given us a pamphlet for that, Zoe pointed out logically. And she was blushing when you were talking to her. I saw it. Zoe, Dr. Mitchell is a highly respected teacher at the school you'll be attending. This is a professional courtesy, not a date. If you say so, Zoe replied, clearly unconvinced. But you should wear your blue shirt. It makes your eyes look nice. Lucas sighed, wondering when his 12-year-old had become so observant about adult relationships. I'll take that under advisement. Friday evening arrived, and despite his insistence that the dinner was purely informational, Lucas found himself taking extra care with his appearance. He wore the blue shirt Zoe had suggested, paired with his best jeans and a sports jacket he rarely had occasion to wear. Zoe, who had spent nearly an hour choosing her own outfit, nodded approvingly when he emerged from his bedroom. You look handsome, Dad. And you look beautiful, he replied, taking in her neat ponytail and the floral dress she had chosen. Ready to go. Riverside Grill turned out to be an upscale but comfortable restaurant with outdoor seating overlooking the river. Harper was already waiting when they arrived, seated at a table on the patio. She stood to greet them, and Lucas couldn't help noticing how lovely she looked in a simple sundress, her hair loose around her shoulders. You found it, she said with a warm smile. I'm glad you could both make it. Dinner was surprisingly relaxed and enjoyable. Harper had a gift for putting people at ease, asking Zoe questions about her interests and listening attentively to her answers. She explained Westlake's curriculum and traditions in a way that made Zoe even more excited about starting school there in the fall. Will you be my math teacher? Zoe asked as they shared a chocolate dessert. It's possible, Harper replied. It depends on your placement assessment results and which track you're assigned to. I hope I get your class, Zoe said earnestly. Dad says you're really smart and nice. Lucas felt his face warm. I believe what I said was that Dr. Mitchell seems knowledgeable and professional. Harper's eyes twinkled with amusement. Well, I try to be both smart and nice, as well as knowledgeable and professional. You're all of those things, Lucas said, then added hastily, from what I've observed so far. The conversation flowed naturally from there, moving from school topics to more personal ones. Harper asked about Zoe's hobbies outside of academics, and Zoe enthusiastically described her love of hiking and identifying native plants. My dad takes me to different trails almost every weekend, she explained. We have a game where we try to spot and name as many plant species as possible. That sounds wonderful, Harper said. I enjoy hiking too, though I don't know nearly enough about plant identification. You should come with us sometime, Zoe suggested innocently. Dad could teach you. He knows all the plants. Lucas nearly choked on his water. Zoe, I'm sure, Doctor. Mitchell has better things to do on weekends than hike with us. Actually, that sounds lovely, Harper surprised him by saying. I've been meaning to explore more of the local trails. Really? Lucas asked. Really, Harper confirmed, holding his gaze for a moment longer than necessary. If the invitation is open. It is, Lucas said, feeling suddenly breathless. Definitely. Zoe looked between them with a satisfied expression that made Lucas suspect his daughter was playing matchmaker. He should probably discourage it. Getting involved with Zoe's teacher would be complicated, to say the least. But sitting across from Harper, seeing her genuine interest in both him and Zoe, Lucas couldn't bring himself to pull back. As the evening wound down, Harper insisted on paying the bill, waving away Lucas's protests. Please, this was my invitation. Consider it a small celebration of Zoe's scholarship. Outside the restaurant, Zoe spotted an ice cream shop across the street. Dad, can I get ice cream for dessert? We just had chocolate cake, Lucas pointed out. But it's Friday, Zoe countered, employing her best persuasive voice. And we're celebrating. Lucas shook his head with a smile. Fine, 1 scoop. I'll wait right here while you get it, Zoe said, too innocently. You and Doctor. Mitchell can go with me if you want, or you can stay and talk. Whatever you want. The 12-year-old's transparent attempt to give them privacy was both embarrassing and endearing. Lucas raised an eyebrow at her, but she just smiled sweetly. I'm happy to wait here with you, Harper said, either missing or politely ignoring the matchmaking attempt. I'll be quick, Lucas promised, following his daughter across the street. While they waited in line, Zoe whispered, She likes you, Dad. Zoe, please don't try to play matchmaker, Lucas said quietly. Dr. Mitchell is just being kind to us because of your scholarship. People don't look at each other the way she looks at you just because of scholarships, Zoe insisted. Before Lucas could respond, it was their turn to order. He put the conversation on hold, relieved for the interruption. When they returned to Harper, ice cream cones in hand, she was on her phone, looking concerned. Is everything okay? Lucas asked. Harper slipped her phone into her purse. Yes, just a work issue, nothing urgent. Her smile returned. How's the ice cream? Delicious, Zoe declared. Do you want to try some? I'm fine, but thank you for offering, Harper replied. She glanced at her watch. I should probably get going. I have some papers to grade this weekend. Of course, Lucas said, trying not to feel disappointed. Thank you for dinner and for all the information about Westlake. It was really helpful. Thank you for the company, Harper replied. It was the most enjoyable evening I've had in quite a while. She turned to Zoe. And I meant what I said about hiking sometime, if your dad is willing. He's willing, Zoe answered before Lucas could speak. Right, Dad? Lucas couldn't help but laugh. Yes, I'm willing, but only if it fits with your schedule, Dr. Mitchell. Harper, please. Outside of school, I think we can use first names. Harper, Lucas repeated, liking the way it felt to say her name. They exchanged a look that lasted just a moment too long before Harper glanced away. I should go. I'll text you about hiking if that's okay. More than okay, Lucas assured her. As they watched Harper walk to her car, Zoe licked her ice cream cone and said casually, Told you she likes you. Lucas sighed. Eat your ice cream, squirt. But as they drove home, Lucas couldn't deny the spark of something hopeful in his chest, a feeling he hadn't experienced in a very long time. The next 2 weeks brought significant changes for both Lucas and Zoe. Westlake Academy sent Zoe's placement assessment results, confirming what they already suspected. She would be placed in advanced classes for mathematics, science, and language arts. The school also provided a summer reading list and information about an optional 3-week academic orientation program in July, designed to help scholarship students adjust to Westlake's rigorous curriculum. Lucas immediately signed Zoe up for the orientation program, rearranging his work schedule to ensure he could drive her each day. His foreman, understanding the importance of the opportunity, agreed to let Lucas work flexible hours during those 3 weeks. Through it all, Harper's presence in their lives grew steadily. What began as occasional text messages about hiking possibilities evolved into regular conversations about books, music, and life in general. The promised hiking trip materialized on a sunny Saturday, with Harper joining them on their favorite trail in the state park. Zoe, as expected, took great delight in showing off her plant identification skills, while Lucas found himself increasingly drawn to Harper's intelligence, wit, and the genuine warmth she showed toward his daughter. "You're really good with her," Lucas commented as they watched Zoe scramble ahead on the path, eager to identify a flowering shrub. Harper smiled. "She makes it easy. She's such a remarkable young woman." "I can't take all the credit," Lucas admitted. "She came into this world with a curious mind and a determined spirit. I just try not to get in her way." "You do far more than that," Harper countered. "The support you provide, the stability, the encouragement, those things matter enormously. I see so many gifted students who lack that foundation, and it affects everything they do." Lucas felt a surge of gratitude for her understanding. Most people saw only Zoe's intelligence, not the work it took to nurture it, while juggling the practical demands of single parenthood. "Can I ask you something personal?" he ventured as they continued up the trail. "Of course. Why did you really advocate for Zoe's scholarship? I mean, I know she's qualified, but there must have been other qualified applicants." Harper considered the question. There were. But Zoe stood out not just for her academic achievements, but for her resourcefulness. When I saw her science projects, how she worked with limited materials but still created something impressive, it reminded me of myself at her age. "You?" Lucas asked, surprised. Harper nodded. "I wasn't always Dr. Mitchell with a corner office at an elite private school." She paused, seeming to decide how much to share. "My mother raised me alone after my father left when I was 4. We struggled financially for years. I attended public schools, often in challenging districts as we moved for my mother's work." "I had no idea," Lucas said softly. "Most people at Westlake don't," Harper replied. "It's not something I usually share with colleagues, but education was my way out. I earned scholarships, worked multiple jobs through college and graduate school." "And now you're helping others follow that path," Lucas said, seeing her in a new light. "I try. Westlake has excellent resources, but it can be insular. Students like Zoe bring fresh perspectives, determination that comes from knowing nothing is guaranteed." She smiled. "The wealthy students benefit from her presence as much as she benefits from the school's resources." Lucas was touched by her candor and her evident commitment to students like Zoe. It made the growing attraction he felt toward her deepen into something more meaningful. "Dad, Dr. Mitchell, come look at this," Zoe called from up ahead, her voice excited. They hurried to catch up, finding Zoe kneeling beside a small cluster of wildflowers. "I think these are ladies' slippers. They're really rare around here." Harper crouched beside her, genuinely interested. "They're beautiful. I've never seen them in the wild before." "They're orchids," Lucas explained, kneeling on Zoe's other side. "This variety only blooms for a few weeks each year." "We should take a picture, not pick them," Zoe said seriously. "They're protected." "That's exactly right," Harper agreed, pulling out her phone to capture the delicate pink blooms. As the three of them huddled together, examining the rare flowers, Lucas felt a sense of rightness that had nothing to do with botany and everything to do with the woman beside him, and the daughter who seemed to glow in her presence. Later that evening, after Zoe had gone to bed exhausted from their hike, Lucas texted Harper. "Thank you for joining us today. Zoe had a great time." Harper's response came quickly. "So did I. You've taught her so much about the natural world. It's wonderful to see." Lucas hesitated, then typed, "Would you like to have dinner sometime? Just the two of us." The minutes that passed while he waited for her response felt eternal, finally. "I'd like that very much." When, relief and excitement coursed through him. "How about next Friday?" "I can ask my neighbor to watch Zoe." "Friday works perfectly. 7 o'clock. It's a date," Lucas replied, then immediately wondered if that was too forward, but Harper's response banished his doubts. "Yes, it is. I'm looking forward to it." Lucas set down his phone, a smile spreading across his face. For the first time in 6 years, he was going on a real date with a woman who seemed to understand both him and his daughter in a way that felt almost too good to be true. The following Friday, Lucas found himself more nervous than he'd been for any job interview or parent-teacher conference. He had made reservations at a nice restaurant, not the most expensive in town, but several steps up from his usual haunts. Mrs. Peterson next door had happily agreed to watch Zoe, who was currently helping him choose between 2 shirts. "The blue one," Zoe said decisively. "It brings out your eyes, and Dr. Mitchell likes blue. She wears it all the time." "How do you notice these things?" Lucas asked, amused by his daughter's attention to detail. Zoe shrugged. "I pay attention. Are you going to kiss her tonight?" "Zoe," Lucas exclaimed, feeling his face heat up. "That's not an appropriate question." "Why not? You like her, she likes you. Kissing is what adults do when they like each other, right?" Lucas sighed, wondering how to navigate this conversation. "Relationships are more complicated than that, Doctor. Mitchell and I are still getting to know each other." "But you want to kiss her," Zoe persisted. Lucas decided honesty was the best approach. "If the moment feels right, yes, I might want to. But that's private, okay?" Zoe nodded, seeming satisfied. "I think she'll want to kiss you too. Just don't mess it up." "Thank you for that vote of confidence," Lucas said dryly, ruffling her hair. "Dad," Zoe protested, smoothing her hair back down, "I'm just trying to help. It's been a long time since you dated anyone. And how would you know? You were 6 when your mom died." "Exactly. I'm 12 now. That's 6 years with no girlfriend. It's simple math." Lucas shook his head, marveling at his daughter's directness. "Go finish your homework while I get ready, and please don't interrogate Mrs. Peterson about my dating life." "Fine," Zoe agreed reluctantly. "But I expect a full report tomorrow." "You'll get an age-appropriate summary," Lucas countered. "Now scoot." An hour later, Lucas stood at Harper's front door, a small bouquet of wildflowers in hand. He had debated whether flowers were too traditional, too presumptuous, or just right, before deciding that the wildflowers they had admired on their hike would be a personal touch she might appreciate. Harper opened the door, and Lucas momentarily forgot how to speak. She wore a simple blue dress that accentuated her figure, her hair cascading in soft waves around her shoulders, her smile warm and perhaps a touch nervous. "Hi," she said when he remained silent for a beat too long. "You look beautiful," Lucas managed, offering the flowers. "These reminded me of our hike." Harper's face lit up as she accepted the bouquet. "They're lovely. Thank you for remembering. Please come in while I put these in water." Her home was exactly what Lucas might have expected, tasteful but comfortable, with bookshelves lining one wall of the living room and large windows overlooking a small, well-tended garden. Academic credentials hung discreetly in a corner, alongside what appeared to be family photographs. "Your home is beautiful," Lucas commented as Harper returned from the kitchen, the wildflowers now arranged in a slender vase. "Thank you. It's my sanctuary from the busyness of school life." She picked up a small purse from the coffee table. "Shall we?" I've been looking forward to this all week. The restaurant was busy but not overcrowded, with soft lighting and a jazz pianist playing quietly in the corner. Their table was tucked away in a cozy alcove, offering privacy without feeling isolated. "This is lovely," Harper said as they settled in. "Have you been here before?" "No, but a colleague recommended it," Lucas admitted. "I hope you like Italian food." "I love it," Harper assured him. "My mother and I traveled to Italy when I finished my doctorate. It remains one of my favorite trips." The conversation flowed easily from there, covering childhood memories, favorite books, and professional aspirations. Lucas found himself sharing stories he hadn't told anyone in years about his early interest in architecture, his brief attempt at college, the construction projects he found most satisfying. "You still have an architect's eye," Harper observed. "The way you describe buildings, spaces, it's clear that passion is still there." "I suppose it is," Lucas agreed. "I've been thinking about what you said about adult education programs. I looked into some evening classes at the community college." Harper's eyes lit up. "That's wonderful." "Have you applied?" "Not yet. I'm still figuring out the logistics: childcare, work schedule, tuition." He shrugged. "But for the first time in years, it feels like a possibility rather than a distant dream." "I'm glad," Harper said softly. "You deserve to pursue your own dreams, Lucas. Not just for Zoe's sake, but for your own." Their eyes met across the table, and Lucas felt a connection that went beyond physical attraction or intellectual compatibility. Here was someone who seemed to see him completely, not just as Zoe's dedicated father or a hardworking construction worker, but as a man with dreams, regrets, hopes, and fears. "Can I ask you something?" he said, setting down his wine glass. "Of course." "Why me?" "You could be with anyone, someone with more education, more money, more—" He gestured vaguely. "Sophistication." Harper considered the question seriously. "Those things, education, money, what you call sophistication, they're just external markers. They don't define who a person is at their core." She leaned forward slightly. "When I see you with Zoe, the way you support her dreams while teaching her to be kind and grounded, that reveals far more about your character than any degree or bank account ever could." She hesitated, then continued, "And if I'm being completely honest, there's something about you that just draws me in. The way you listen when I speak, how you notice small details others would miss, your quiet confidence in who you are." Her cheeks colored slightly. "Plus, you're not hard to look at." Lucas laughed, feeling a weight lift from his shoulders. "I feel the same way about you, not just the looking part though, you're beautiful, but everything else. How you treat Zoe with respect, not condescension. How passionate you are about education being accessible to everyone. How you seem to understand parts of me I've never articulated out loud." The moment stretched between them, charged with possibility. Their server chose that moment to appear with dessert menus, breaking the spell. "Shall we share something?" Harper suggested, her eyes still holding his. "I'd like that," Lucas agreed. As they walked to Harper's door after dinner, Lucas felt both nervous and certain. The evening had confirmed what he'd been feeling over the past weeks. There was something real developing between them, something worth exploring further. On her doorstep, Harper turned to face him. "I had a wonderful time tonight, Lucas." "So did I," he said, taking a step closer. "I'd like to do it again if you would." "I would," she replied softly. "Very much." The moment felt right, just as he had told Zoe it might. Lucas leaned in slowly, giving Harper time to pull away if he had misread the situation. But she moved toward him, meeting him halfway. The kiss was gentle at first, a tentative exploration that quickly deepened as Harper's hands came up to rest on his chest. Lucas cupped her face gently, marveling at the softness of her skin beneath his work-roughened fingers. When they finally pulled apart, both slightly breathless, Harper smiled up at him. "I've been hoping you would do that." "I've been wanting to," Lucas admitted. "For a while now." Harper took his hand, her expression turning more serious. "I should be upfront about something." Dating a parent of a Westlake student, especially a scholarship student, I advocated for it's complicated. There are no explicit rules against it, but it could raise questions, Lucas finished for her. I understand. If you think we should wait until Zoe starts school, or even longer. No, Harper interrupted. I don't want to wait. I just wanted you to know that we might need to be discreet, at least initially. For Zoe's sake as much as anything. I wouldn't want anyone suggesting her scholarship was based on anything other than merit. Lucas nodded, appreciating her concern for Zoe. We'll be discreet, but I don't want to hide this from Zoe. She's already figured out there's something between us. Harper smiled. She's perceptive. And I would never ask you to keep secrets from her. I respect your relationship too much for that. Thank you. Lucas brushed a strand of hair from her face. So, where do we go from here? How about we take it one day at a time? Harper suggested. See where this leads naturally. I'd like that, Lucas agreed, leaning in to kiss her once more. This time, there was a promise in the kiss of more evenings together, more conversations, more possibilities opening up before them. When Lucas arrived home that night, he found Mrs. Peterson asleep on the couch, a novel open on her chest, and Zoe pretending to be asleep but obviously waiting up for him. How was your date? She whispered as Lucas gently woke Mrs. Peterson and thanked her for staying late. It was nice, Lucas said, keeping his voice down. Now go to sleep for real. We'll talk in the morning. Zoe's eyes narrowed. You're smiling too much for nice. Did you kiss her? Lucas sighed. Bed, Zoe, now. But his continued smile told her everything she wanted to know. Zoe grinned triumphantly as she headed to her room. Told you she liked you, she whispered. Lucas shook his head, unable to argue with his daughter's assessment. Harper did like him, and he was falling for her more with each passing day. Over the next few months, as summer turned to fall and Zoe began her first term at Westlake Academy, Lucas and Harper's relationship deepened steadily. They maintained a professional distance at school events, where Harper was simply Dr. Mitchell, the mathematics department head, but outside of school, they gradually built a life together. Weekend hikes became regular occurrences, sometimes with Zoe, sometimes just the two of them. Harper helped Lucas navigate the admissions process for evening classes at the local community college, where he enrolled in architectural design courses for the spring semester. Lucas, in turn, helped Harper renovate her garden, building a charming pergola where they often shared dinner on warm evenings. Zoe thrived at Westlake, her natural abilities nurtured by the school's resources and challenging curriculum. Though Harper wasn't her assigned mathematics teacher, a decision Harper had insisted on to avoid any appearance of favoritism, Zoe often sought her advice on advanced concepts. By Thanksgiving, it was clear to both Lucas and Harper that what they had found together was rare and precious. They had built a relationship based on mutual respect, shared values, and genuine affection that had grown into something deeper. As they prepared Thanksgiving dinner together in Harper's kitchen, a blend of Lucas's family recipes and Harper's culinary experiments, Lucas watched his daughter, and Harper discussing the mathematical principles behind perfect pastry crust. The sight filled him with a contentment he hadn't dared hope for since losing Alina. "What are you smiling about over there?" Harper asked, catching his thoughtful expression. "Just counting my blessings," Lucas replied honestly, "and realizing they've multiplied considerably this year." Harper's eyes softened with understanding. "Mine too." Later that night, after Zoe had gone to bed in Harper's guest room, now decorated with some of Zoe's favorite things for her frequent stays, Lucas and Harper sat on the couch, a fire crackling in the fireplace. "I've been thinking," Harper said, nestled against Lucas's side. "My lease is up in February." "Oh," Lucas replied, his heart rate picking up slightly. "Yes, and I know it's only been a few months, but—" She sat up to look at him directly. "What would you think about us looking for a place together? Something with room for all of us, maybe closer to Westlake for Zoe?" Lucas studied her face, seeing the blend of hope and vulnerability there. "Are you sure? That's a big step." I'm sure, Harper said firmly. I love you, Lucas. And I love Zoe. These past months have shown me what I want my future to look like, and it's with both of you. Lucas pulled her close, overwhelmed by the certainty in her voice. I love you too, and yes, I want us to find a place together. Zoe will be thrilled. You think so? Harper asked, a touch of nervousness in her voice. Lucas laughed softly. Harper, she's been dropping hints about this for weeks. Last weekend, she asked me why we waste money on two places when we spend most of our time together anyway. Her exact words. Harper laughed. She does have a practical mind. That she does. Lucas hesitated, then added, There's something I've been considering too. What's that? Lucas shifted to face her more fully. With the promotion at work and the raise that came with it, I've been able to save a bit more lately. He took her hand in his. And I was thinking that maybe, if you're serious about us building a future together, we might make it official. Not right away, but someday soon. Harper's eyes widened. Lucas Anderson, are you pre-proposing to me? He grinned, feeling oddly liberated by having the thought out in the open. I suppose I am, testing the waters, so to speak. Harper's answer was to kiss him deeply, her hands framing his face. When she pulled back, her eyes were bright with emotion. The waters are perfect. Whenever you decide to make it official, my answer will be yes. The following spring, as cherry blossoms bloomed around their new home, a charming 3-bedroom house with a large yard midway between Westlake Academy and Lucas's job site, Lucas did make it official. With Zoe's help, he planned a proposal that honored their shared journey. A hike to the spot where they had found the rare lady's slippers the previous summer, a picnic lunch prepared by Zoe, and a simple but elegant ring that had once belonged to Lucas's grandmother. Harper said yes through happy tears, and Zoe cheered loud enough to startle nearby birds into flight. They were married that summer in a small ceremony in their backyard, with Zoe proudly serving as both flower girl and best person. Among the guests were several of Zoe's teachers from Westlake, Lucas's colleagues from both work and his evening classes, and Harper's mother, who had flown in from Arizona for the occasion. As they shared their first dance as husband and wife, Lucas held Harper close and marveled at the journey that had brought them together. Did you ever imagine, when you saw me chasing those scholarship papers across the parking lot, that we'd end up here? He murmured against her ear. Harper smiled up at him, her eyes reflecting the fairy lights strung overhead. No, but I knew even then that there was something special about you. The way you cared so much about giving Zoe opportunities, how determined you were to make it happen for her, it touched something in me. And here I thought you were just taking pity on the disheveled dad with the crumpled forms, Lucas teased. Never pity, Harper corrected him. Admiration from the very beginning. I love you, Dr. Mitchell Anderson, Lucas said softly. And I love you, future architect Anderson, she replied, reaching up to kiss him as their guests applauded. From her seat at the head table, Zoe watched them with undisguised satisfaction. Her father was happy. Her new stepmother was brilliant and kind. And her future, once limited by circumstances beyond her control, now stretched before her, full of possibilities. As for Lucas, holding the woman he loved in his arms, surrounded by friends and family, with his amazing daughter beaming at them from across the garden, he knew with absolute certainty that some things in life were worth the wait. The journey from that rainy day with scattered scholarship forms to this perfect moment had been unexpected, challenging at times, but ultimately more rewarding than he could have ever imagined. What had begun with a desperate dash to submit paperwork had blossomed into a second chance at love, a blended family built on mutual respect and genuine affection, and a future bright with promise not just for Zoe, but for all of them together. And as the evening stars began to appear above their celebration, Lucas made a silent promise to never forget how it all began with scholarship papers, a chance encounter, and the courage to believe in new beginnings.